Have you ever wondered what would happen when a beloved comedian became the proprietor of a children's sleepaway camp? Of course you have, dagnabbit. And you can find out all about it on this here episode of
WatchBots.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to WatchBots, the podcast about old cartoons and reliving your childhood anxieties. This is Ben, and I'm joined tonight from Camp Onawana by Shaylin.
Hello.
And also Camp Crystal Lake by Dave.
Benjamin. Good.
Thank you both for being here. How's everyone doing?
Just peachy. How about you?
Good. I guess. We were talking about this off mic. It's been a chaotic last day. Just in the last day at the house, we have had a waffle maker fall and shatter, a Pyrex dish fall from about 8 feet up, not shatter. The trim on the bathroom window fell off. And just now, I went to make a pot of coffee and somehow didn't put any water into it. So things are a little strange right now, a little tense.
I had a similar day. So I work from home on Wednesdays.
Ooh, fancy.
That was the first kind of strike against the day. My wife went to work, and then about a half hour after she left, she texted me and said she had forgotten her bag. So I pack up the sick kid. I put her in the back seat. We get there. We're about 2 minutes away from my wife's office, and I look in the passenger seat, and I realize that I too have forgotten my wife's bag. So we had to drive all the way back to our house, get the bag, and drive back all the way to my wife's office, and then drive all the way back home. Luckily, there was no throw up or anything, but it was about a 2-hour excursion when it should have been about a 45-minute one. It was good. So I know how you're feeling, Ben.
Yeah. Good use of time.
Definitely.
Like the podcast.
I think it bodes well for tonight's for this episode.
Yeah, for sure. I'm feeling very with it at the moment, so this will be a good quality hour. But mea culpa of the week. And we got some listener feedback in, but before I dive into that, any sort of doors we need to close or horse pens we need to wrestle on My Little Pony?
I'm just throwing it out there. I think we should revisit again in the future with an episode that is less human-centric and more about the ponies.
You have a real problem
with humans.
Yeah.
They're the worst.
Yeah. Especially true. Of the cartoon varietal.
No, all of them.
Okay.
I agree. I'd be down for that. And I think maybe we could watch like a new episode and maybe do like a side-by-side comparison. I don't know. Be fun.
Shaylin, you're the expert. I defer to you.
I'm not ready to discuss new episodes yet.
Fine.
We have a firm cutoff of, 1997. Is that fair to say? Just arbitrary dates.
1997, September 15th.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Put it on the Wikia. That's the date. But we did get some listener feedback in, and what I will say for WatchBots listeners is y'all are a fervent bunch, which we appreciate, and you're very, you don't send short emails, but we got this feedback in tangentially related to our discussion a few weeks back about hand jobs and the movie Parenthood and things like that. So we got this 5-paragraph email that I will now read to you for some scintillating radio. Dear Mr. and Mrs. WatchBots, I am an avid listener to your radio show. Dave, you have the sexy voice of a young Tyrone Power. Ben, you have the winsome charm of a young Spencer Tracy. Shaylin, you have the comedy stylings of a young Tyrone Power. Kudos all. After listening to a recent episode where Ben thought he remembered there was a quote-unquote hand job scene in the Martha Plimpton vehicle Parenthood, I couldn't help but feel some pity for him. Side note, thank you. Anyway, he was close. While there indeed was a randy scene, a scene which certainly pushed the boundaries of the PG-13 rating. It was not of the handy variety. To clarify, if I may quote 2 Corinthians, "Yea, and spare thy hand, but yet not thy mouth." Paragraph 3. You see, Rick Moranis' wife, Susan, played by the lovely Harley Kozak, gives advice to Karen, played by the lovely Mary Steenburgen, about how she de-stresses her husband. A strategy which involves some oral stuff while the man drives. Cut to a scene when Gil, the lovely Steve Martin, stressed out after a particularly stressful evening, is now driving, and his wife Karen, again, the lovely Mary Steenburgen, decides to try out her sister-in-law's advice. We, the audience, don't see anything, unfortunately. However, there is a Gilligan cut. I don't know, a lot of people will understand that, but anyway, where we see that the embarrassed couple has gotten into a minor fender bender. When the cop asks Gil what happened, Gil says, "Why don't you show him, honey?" That was meant to be, "I'll have what she's having" line. I think Ben deserves some points for almost remembering, but then he loses points for bringing up Parenthood. That movie sucked. Yours in Christ, the Virgin Connie Swale. P.S. She gave him a BJ. So, I guess it's good to have a little closure to that situation. I know, the Twitter's been a buzz. Was I right? Was I wrong? And now we find out, mostly right.
It's been hanging over our friendship for a long, long time. We haven't spoken to each other outside of the confines of WatchBots.
Yeah.
I'm just glad we have some closure now. We can kind of move past this.
Yeah. You ever read that story, The Pit and the Pendulum?
Yes.
A lot like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
The Cask of Amontillado.
Indeed.
All the hits.
Sure, that fits.
Yeah.
Applicable, for sure.
Yeah, let's go with that. So this week, we're talking about Camp Candy, and I just read the other day that this is the 25-year anniversary of John Candy's death, and that's not why we picked this, but sometimes life's just funny that way, It's meant to be.
Also, I feel super old realizing he's been gone for 25 years. It feels like it was very recently.
Yeah, about 25 years ago.
It's still fresh, is what you're saying.
I mean,
yeah.
You were 9.
Which
when
is
he
weird,
died.
right?
Yeah. So I don't know why you remember that so vividly.
Oh.
The first real celebrity death I remember is Princess Di.
Weird.
This isn't funny. It was a Saturday night when shit went bad in Paris. Is that where it happened?
Yeah, in the tunnel.
Yeah. And they announced that she was in grave condition. And my mom very knowingly said, "Oh, first you're grave and then you're in a grave."
Did she really?
Yeah.
Your mom's sense of humor is really charming. Sunshine.
So yeah, that's Princess Di. So I don't remember John Candy dying, Shaylin. So I can't relate. So John Candy is great.
Yes.
Uncle Buck, one of my favorite movies as a kid, eminently rewatchable. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, Home Alone. I mean, the guy's a legend.
With good reason.
Yeah,
totally.
Justified. Yeah.
This show. We'll get into the particulars. This show is bizarre. There's not a ton out there about the development of this show and how it came together, but just even the concept of it is fucking crazy, right? So if you look at IMDb, John Candy is listed as himself. So he's not playing like Counselor John or John. He's playing himself. So what you have is John Candy, the actor-comedian, as the proprietor, one of 2 employees of a camp that has 6 total campers. And that's the concept of the show.
He's technically reminiscing about it to a studio audience with other kids around.
No, he's not, as we will discuss. It is not a studio audience.
Okay.
The framing device is insane too, as we will get to.
There's canned laughter for sure.
There is, but whether that's a studio audience or not, maybe it's not debatable because he's with another group of kids. But we're getting too far down the road.
Ben has some strong opinions on Camp Candy.
Turns out.
Can't wait to get into them.
All right.
I mean, it's not an opinion if it's a fact. It's my general read on things.
Fact, not opinion.
Yeah. So I was sort of thinking about this show, while watching it and preparing and stuff. And did you guys go to sleepaway camp at all?
I never went to sleepaway camp. That was like camp. I did a nerd camp one summer between 8th and 9th grade on a college campus.
Okay.
What is a nerd camp?
I'm glad you asked, Dave.
A good question.
My nerd camp was called Project Contemporary Competitiveness.
Okay.
We slept in dorms Monday night through Thursday night, and Monday through Friday we attended 2 classes in the morning, had a study hour, had rec time, and then Monday through Thursday there was like an evening program of sorts. On Fridays we left after rec to go home to our families for the weekend.
Sounds really nerdy.
There were a lot of nerds,
Sure.
a lot of weirdos.
Sure.
Some people I'm still friends with, but man, a lot of weirdos.
What are the things that made it nerdy?
I mean, I chose to intentionally attend 2 classes during 6 weeks of the summer before I started high school because I thought that was better than not attending school. So,
Yeah.
Nerd!
so there's that. And you had like all the, like what I think of as like the traditional like summer campy kind of stuff. Like we had like some wild Foursquare tournaments.
Yeah. Yeah.
There were like talent shows.
I just want to dunk you in the fucking toilet.
Stuff you in a locker, nerd.
There were theme dances, as I recall.
Boy, oh boy.
Yeah.
Sounds like a winner.
I had a blast. It was awesome before 9th grade, but as an adult, I look back and it's pretty cringy.
Sure.
Sounds like a prequel to Revenge of the Nerds.
Maybe. It's like American Pie.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't like that for me, but whatever.
It's all good. Dave, did you have any sleepaway camps?
No, I was like more than a nerd. Like I was making fun of Shaylin, but like I was really out of jealousy because I was so, as a child, I was so racked with anxiety. The thought of even like going away from my home for like more than 2 nights was like a horrifying event or just thought. So no, I couldn't even go to nerd camp if I wanted to.
Yeah. So I went to sleepaway camp twice, and each of them carries a really horrific story.
Great.
Now, I was thinking about which one I wanted to tell because you never know when we would come back to like a summer camp themed show. And in my existence, I only have so many interesting stories. So I'm going to leave it to the two of you. Do you want a story that involves urine or a story that involves like quitting and being a general baby? I will leave that in your court, and I will tell one.
What do you think, Dave?
I'm always going to choose urine.
Yeah, let's go urine.
Yeah.
All right.
And you can save that drop, by the way.
Yeah, I like that. So in 7th grade, the 6th, 7th, and 8th graders in my elementary school all got to go to like a nature preserve in the middle of the state. They had
Nature's Classroom?
Yeah. I think that there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
So that's not just a kind of local thing, but it was sort of organized activities, and you played like capture the flag and stuff. But we played a game called Underground Railroad, which
Horrifying.
yeah. So the rules of the game were
Right on.
Yeah, the kids were runaway slaves. We were all white, I will point out, and the counselors were they were the slave catchers.
This is the best theming they could have come up with. They couldn't have just called it like tag.
No. It had to be educational.
You sort of buried the lead here with the urine topic, but I'm excited to see where this goes.
We're getting there. So the idea was you had to get from like in the woods back to the main cabin, right? And you had somebody who was guiding you, and the idea was, as the counselors would see you, and they would be shouting loudly, like, I'm gonna get you, slaves, blah, blah, blah. You would have to freeze.
So horrified.
Right?
Okay.
So you'd have to freeze. Yeah. But the problem is that you're in the woods, and in the woods, everywhere is a toilet. But I'm also with a group of peers. And, this will surprise you. As a child, I was very self-conscious, and didn't want to like piss in the woods next to my classmates and things like that. So as the game started, I really had to pee, and there's just nothing to do about it. Like I couldn't wander off from my runaway slave camp because I would have been captured, and that would have been no good.
You don't want to be enslaved.
No, I don't. So we're wandering back toward the cabin, and like I really I have to pee. I probably have a weak bladder anyway. Why am I talking about this? Fuck. Anyway, so like I have to pee so bad. Like, do you ever have to pee so bad you can feel it like up to your diaphragm?
Oh,
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm talking real deal, not your birth control diaphragm, ladies.
Okay.
I'm married. So we're getting close to the cabin, and I had bent down to tie my shoe when we had to freeze. So now I'm bent over, and it's not a good position to hold my pee. So I just
putting pressure on the bladder.
So I I pissed my pants. So it's like, it's not even remotely hideable. Like I pissed everywhere.
Well, when your bladder's that full, like, yeah.
Like this.
How old were you?
7th grade. So 12, 13. So this was not like young. This was horrifying. So, so I tried to play it off, and nobody really said anything because I think kids are cruel. And this is what, looking back on it, is even more mortifying, is that nobody gave me shit about it, because I think it was so far past the point of like, oh, he might smash his head into a rock. So I got back.
So I like that your analysis is not that the kids knew you had to pee or had lived through something similar, so they were compassionate. The problem was that they thought it was so bad that if they said something, you would hurt yourself.
Yeah.
All right, I'll read.
That's correct.
I would think the same thing.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's natural. So the story continues that I had like my piss soaked clothes, and I jammed them in the bottom of my rucksack for the next like 4 days or whatever we were there.
Oh.
And then when my mom picked me up from the place, because we took a bus back to school, so she picked me up at my school, she just smelled it, and then she yelled at me, and that didn't help anything. So
no?
that's my sleepaway camp story.
Wow, Camp Amistad was nuts.
It was an interesting experience, but that's how it goes sometimes, So the episode of Camp Canada we watched is called Fool's Gold, and this one aired on October 14th, 1989. And the writer was Diane Dixon, and she wasn't terribly prolific. She had some credits. She did some work on Alvin and the Chipmunks and Punky Brewster. So, she was around.
Yeah.
Good, solid observation.
She was no Pat Fraley.
Thank you. Yeah. The P story's really thrown me here.
She was around.
I'm not trying to be dismissive. I don't know.
Hot analysis.
Jesus.
Listen, she was employable and talented, but she wasn't a big name in the business. That's good. That means she was a consistent
I'm not
worker.
making fun of Diane. I'm making fun of Ben.
I'm trying to help Ben's cause here, Dave.
She was there.
I don't hear any analysis out either of you about this.
Well, I didn't do any research, so.
That's fair.
I wasn't criticizing.
You know who else was around?
Who?
John Travolta.
What?
That's my lead into contextual feeling.
All right.
I'm not playing this on this week.
Okay.
But the top movie of the week was Look Who's Talking.
Oh, man.
That movie taught me about the birds and the bees.
Sure.
Yeah.
That movie raked in money.
Oh, it made enough money that they made a sequel with talking animals.
Yeah.
There were 2 sequels. One was Twins, and it starred Roseanne Barr.
Oh, yeah.
And then there was the 3rd sequel.
Look Who's Talking
Or the
Now.
2nd sequel, I guess. Look Who's Talking Now, and that had the dogs. And I don't know who voiced the dogs.
I don't either.
One of them was in
So shame on
one
me.
of our cartoons.
Well, if you know who voiced the dogs, hit us up on Twitter at WatchBotsPod, hashtag Look Who's Barking Now. Or Look Who's Barking Wow. Do a little punch up there. Number 2 movie was Halloween 5. And Halloween 5 was one of sort of the new batch of Michael Myers movies. This one had a particularly bad Michael Myers mask. Like it wasn't tucked in at the neck or anything, and he just looked...
It's clean, right?
Yeah.
Is that the one, or is that 4?
I think
remember.
it's this one.
It's like super shiny and like not grimy or like old or craggy looking. Yeah, it looks very new.
Is that the Paul Rudd one?
No, that's a later one.
Okay.
Paul Rudd is Halloween 6, which I think is the Curse of Michael Myers.
That's when it gets really into like Sam Hain and weird satanic stuff.
Yeah, which is introduced at the end of Halloween 5.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. A real solid trilogy, 4, 5, and 6. Now, number 3 at the box office was An Innocent Man, a crime drama starring the inimitable Tom Selleck.
I've never seen that. What is it?
It's a crime drama starring Tom Selleck.
Okay.
Cool. So top toys. The handheld games were big in 89. Do you guys remember those? Like the Tiger ones? They were the the plastic ones.
Yeah.
I never had any, but they were super cool.
I had a bunch of them.
Of course you did.
Well, I don't have a snappy follow up, but they sucked. That's the takeaway.
Oh, did they?
Yeah,
I thought they were cool.
So they had like the no, it wouldn't have been LED in 1989. The LCD screens, like the old watches, and everything had like 4 frames of animation. So imagine trying to play, Castlevania, where you're not really doing anything. You're just following these vague black shapes that jump from like corner 1 to corner 2. It's not good.
Doesn't sound great.
Yeah. They're cool to look at, though. They have kind of that appeal to me as like arcade machines.
Yeah.
Like interesting artwork and layouts and stuff like that.
Yeah, I always remember the box or the frame around the screen being much more interesting than the game itself.
Definitely. Another big one that came up on multiple sites, a Florence Griffith Joyner doll. So Flojo, of course, a really famous Olympian and track athlete around this time.
But she was like the fastest human clocked at that point.
Sure.
Yeah, so it makes sense that the doll will be popular.
And the doll was fast as shit, too.
Wow.
Because she's fast.
Yep. No, got the joke.
All right. So let's get into this. And we will start with the song. And to play a little behind the scenes for the listener, Camp Candy and this song are one of the reasons this podcast exists, because we get down internet wormholes like you do. And in reading about Camp Candy, I'm sure I've read about this 100 times over the years. The song is written by Harry Nilsson. So Harry Nilsson is, a songwriter, had a band forever and ever, one of the Beatles' favorite bands, which is interesting. But he's most known for that song, Everybody's Talking, from Midnight Cowboy.
Really?
Yeah.
That's what he's known for?
Yeah, that's his big song.
Huh.
So like that, he wrote this song to Camp Candy has always sort of blown my mind. And so thinking about that got the juices flowing. And Watchbots, here we are.
Yeah.
So sorry, listener.
I'm not sorry.
He also did a Lime the coconut song, right? Was that him?
I think so.
Lime in the coconut?
I don't like doing live research on the air, but I think this will bear out. Lime in the coconut. Yes, that is him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
So-
Awesome.
That's why I
Good.
was surprised that it was the other song that he's known for.
All right, so maybe he wasn't above this.
It's not. But this isn't like radio hit material.
Are you sure?
The flea bites, the bee bites, the bark of the tree bites, the quietness of darkness, the stories told by firelight, the long nights, the food fights, a summer made of memories at Camp Candy. Good morning, happy campers!
It's like the song is supposed to be bad, right? Is that the read?
Yes.
So, okay.
I think
Yeah, I
so.
thought so.
Okay. I think that's fair.
It's supposed to be like kids around the campfire shouting at each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like singing out of key or whatever. Yeah.
And again, it's fascinating to me that not only is this a show about John Candy does the voice. That's pretty rare for this kind of show.
Yeah.
Like,
Even the New Kids on the Block didn't do
yeah,
the voices.
exactly. Yeah. So that not only was he the star in a show marketed toward kids, like it's him. I'm going to come back to this over and over again because it's so weird.
Paycheck's a paycheck.
I appreciated that. Like, and I don't know, like the voice acting wasn't like, I don't know. To me, it was like, I'm just actually thinking out loud now, but to me, like, it sounded like he was like kind of into it. Like he like put 100% into it with like a lot of the joke deliveries and things.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
So I appreciated that about his voice acting here. Did he sing the song, Ben?
I think so. It certainly sounds like him.
Okay. All right.
You think he's going to mail it in on the song after
no.
doing all the work?
No.
He's a polka
no.
king.
Yeah.
That's not candy.
Goddamn right. The show opens up just swimmingly, and I'm not, pun not intended. It's not like a swimming joke. John is at a campfire with a bunch of kids, and we get a really short and funny gag about opening marshmallows. I think the listener will appreciate this.
All you have to do is apply a little bit of strength. Yes, that's right. You need some strength there. Wisely, you see, the manufacturers have made this bag childproof. But applying the simple laws of physics, you'll have this sucker open in no time.
Whoa! 26 seconds. This is one of my favorite recurring themes that we keep coming to. Is just horrific jokes that go way too long. And you could make a smart ass joke about the podcast too. I'm not going to do that. That hacky nonsense.
We'll let our listeners do that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
My favorite part was the sound effects of the marshmallows.
Yeah.
Like, it was as though they had one of those CDs that had like 100 sound
Yeah.
effects, and they just like went through and was like, they just did like play skip, play skip, play skip, play skip.
The weird thing too is that when the marshmallows go into the fire, it turns into like a fucking bonfire. Like, I've dropped marshmallows in a fire. That doesn't happen.
Yeah, what were those marshmallows laced with? Kerosene marshmallows.
Well, there's also a bullet firing in the sound effects.
We'll get to that too. I was reminded, Dave, of your wedding shower when most of the real adults had left the party and there was a big fire pit and
we found a whole bush.
Yeah, everybody there was drunk and we threw a bush into the fire.
Yeah. Someone was doing some landscaping and ripped up an entire bush.
Yeah.
And we decided, like, let's fucking burn this thing.
Yeah.
We're drunk enough. Let's do it.
Went up like a pile of marshmallows.
A shame we didn't have John Candy there with a bucket of water.
It's true.
He was there in my heart.
Rest in power.
Always is.
So this is where the structure of the episode is a little questionable. So Shaylin, you mentioned a studio audience, but what we get here is a framing device, kind of, because John is at a campfire and he's there with a bunch of kids, but they are not the kids that are there for the majority of the show.
Right. He's talking to the kids in the frame.
Right.
Yeah.
So I had to wonder, and I was doing research. I couldn't figure this out. Is this a parable he's telling? Is this something that happened to past kids at Camp Candy? I could never quite get a read on it.
Or, theory, he's in prison telling this story about why he's in jail now because of what he did as a camp counselor.
But he's telling the story. That's dark, man.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
He's not a good
he's telling
camp
the
counselor.
story to kids. And then, so are they like a year or several years removed from the kids of the main story?
It could be.
Could be. Maybe it's
I
just
don't
a
know.
different summer
That's what I
session.
thought.
Or maybe he just made it up because he starts to tell a story. And the story begins at a very controversial kind of place.
Old Facefull.
That's right. Old Facefull Geyser. That had to be on purpose, right?
Oh, yeah.
And
That is a
yeah,
that is a facial reference. Yes.
Yeah.
I would assume so. Yeah.
That's a grown-up making
Yeah,
a
all right,
grown-up
thank
joke
you.
to children.
I was more convinced, and we'll post the GIF online, when they show Old Facefull and it looks like a prolapsed anus.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, I saw the same thing.
It's
What are you getting a face full of?
I mean, camping supplies by what the show shows us.
Groceries?
Yeah. So John is taking a bunch of kids to have a picnic out at Old Facefull.
A picnic breakfast. These children have not eaten yet.
Right. And he's a clumsy oaf. He stumbles, drops the supplies conveniently into the gaping maw of Old Facefull, and all the stuff is ruined. And this is where they decide to go back to the kitchen. And this is where, Shaylin, you mentioned this.
Mm-hmm.
You start to get something a little weird in the audio. Let me play it and see if it comes through.
On second thought, maybe we ought to eat indoors, huh?
there's a laugh track in this show.
Yep.
But it's a very, very faint one.
It's like they weren't ready to totally pull the trigger on including it.
Yeah.
So they're like, well, we'll bury it underneath some cuckoo clocks and it'll help people know it's a joke, but it won't be overpowering.
Mm-hmm. Dave, you texted me about the laugh track too, and I think we were all a little befuddled by this.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you noticed it because I thought I was going crazy. Like, I thought I was hearing things. I kept having to, like, take my headphones out and be like, what was that? Like, is that my neighbor? Like, I don't know. And then I just thought, like, oh, I must just be losing my mind. It's official. I've gone mentally insane.
Yeah.
You thought the jokes were so good
yeah.
that you heard your own laugh track.
Maybe like a mental internal thing.
Oh, man.
It's
my
weird.
brain's giving me extra laughs.
It's like a kiss of a laugh track.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was messing me up was, like, it would happen, like at random times. Like, there would be jokes or maybe I was, like, missing jokes, but, like, then they'd just be laughing. I'm like, but nothing funny happened. Like, I don't get it.
Right.
Why is this going on?
Yeah. And it showed up in weird spots. Interesting production choice. So the kids go back, and I should point out too. So this party is made up of John, 6 kids-ish, maybe 5 or 6 kids.
Yeah.
Of varying ages, and also Nurse Molly.
Ah, Nurse Molly.
Nurse Molly has got the hots for John, as demonstrated in the following.
Barf time!
Oatmeal, the food of love.
Oh man, this nurse needs
Dick. She needs dick. That's what she needs.
Oh, dear.
It's a regular Irma.
Yeah. I don't know why we're working so blue tonight. It's just what the show is. It's uncomfortable. And so there's this kid, Iggy, and I identified with Iggy, which is sad, but like he's a little nerdy kid. And he has this fantasy about...
He has a psychotic break.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, about like the kitchen being a volcano and the volcano blasting oatmeal through the volcano hole, which is a scientific term.
Yep, the volcano hole.
And then, like, it actually happens. The pot of oatmeal blasts out of the kitchen, through the roof, goes hundreds of feet in the air, lands on John's head, and he's okay. Like, he does not mind being covered in scalding oatmeal whatsoever.
That was boiling just a moment ago.
Yeah.
So maybe it wasn't a psychotic break. Like, Iggy had a premonition.
Could be. Okay, I would buy that. He's got the shining.
He's a seer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's why he's such a nervous Nelly.
It could be.
Freak me out too, yeah.
Would explain a lot. But John's only reaction, it's not like screaming or second-degree burns or anything. No, he just quotes FDR.
Now, kids, don't panic. Remember, there's nothing to fear but fear itself. That and a whole lot of oatmeal. Ugh.
That and a whole lot of oatmeal.
Yeah. So somehow this oatmeal mess causes the kitchen to burn to the ground. And the kids are trying to put the fire out with water and a fire extinguisher. The adults do nothing. This is concerning. This was a concerning thing to me.
I was already concerned for the kids because they hiked all the way up to Mount Facefull for breakfast.
Yeah.
Threw breakfast in the hole. And then they had to march back where they were going to be served gruel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good camp.
Yeah, totally. 5 stars.
Well regulated. And here we get to, like, we've talked about the laugh track. We've talked about the weird framing device. We get another sign of a quality production here, and that's some good old ADR.
You know what they say. If you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen.
That line was said by a child who you don't see in this scene and who you never see. You can assume that he is with John at the marshmallow roasting fire, but just these weird non sequitur lines overlaid on top of everything going on. It's a good thing.
Yeah, it's really messed up. Like, I liked the show overall, except for that. Like, these kids, like, they're just like sassing John Candy, like in his narrations. Let him tell a story. They're just not funny too. Like, the jokes are like just cliche and kind of easy and all that stuff.
Because I thought John Candy wrote every episode, so I expected a little better here.
Yeah, exactly.
But maybe not.
Their punch-up guy was a literal, actual orangutan. They just, like, picked, like, cutesy sayings out of a hat.
Yeah, you know what they say, 100 monkeys on 100 typewriters. Could write.
Or maybe they went method and just went to a camp and asked a kid to write some jokes.
Could be. Yeah, I could see it. Kids say the darndest things. I hate that show. That show sucks.
Yeah.
Kids aren't funny.
Suck.
Yeah, just kids aren't funny. That's...
My kid is very funny.
Everybody's kid is funny.
But not kids on TV.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck you, kids. Just kidding. We love you. So here we meet the villains, and we meet Rex DeForest III. And where Camp Candy is on the edge of a lake and looks very idyllic, Rex lives in like a nightmarish modern house. And I believe he's a real estate developer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Confirmed.
And he is staring at Camp Candy through a telescope or something. And he's just happy to see every calamity.
Right.
Yeah. So we also meet his nephew Chester, who sounds a lot like Sylvester Stallone. I'm sure that's not a coincidence.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't get a lot of lines from Rex, but I did get the intro a little bit from Chester too.
I can't believe it! Candy has gone and set fire to his own camp. He saved me the trouble of doing it myself.
Gee, that was really thoughtful of him, huh?
Cool. Good, strong villains.
I mean, with a name like Rex DeForest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, God. Yeah.
That Sylvester Stallone impression is way better than the Rambo Sylvester Stallone impression.
You're absolutely right.
I'll give him that one.
I would say though that I don't think that this Chester voice would play in the Rambo cartoon.
No.
Too goofy.
Oh yeah. Nothing about Rambo: The Force of Freedom requires changing.
It's perfect. Exquisite.
Yeah. So Rex calls the fire marshal to call in the fire at Camp Candy. And the fire marshal is only the one firefighter in town. Gets in his fire truck and he heads to the camp, but not before he almost runs over Smokey the Bear.
Right.
The fire engine drives by and Smokey is not there. And then there's a cloud of dust and Smokey is there.
Right, because he's coming out of the woods to make sure the fire marshal is keeping his forest safe.
Okay. That's so much more well-reasoned than the show gives us reason to believe.
It's a good sight gag. It's like a quick, easy joke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But here is where the narration broke down for me, right? Like, so John Candy's telling the story to camp counselors, right? Yeah. This is usually the point where Ben breaks down. Now it's me. John is narrating to the children, like,
around the
at the beginning of the episode. So presumably he's telling a story from his perspective, right? And so how does he know what Rex DeForest said? And how does he know that Smokey the Bear was there?
So what I think is that he's narrating the parts where he is, and the rest of it is supposed to be like flashbacks of what actually happened. But in terms of like, if we were reading a short story and this was happening, we would throw it away for being a piece of garbage for all of the perspective shifts that are not explained.
Right.
Yeah.
But if John Candy had written that short story, would we throw it away? I wouldn't.
If the perspective shifts were this bad and unexplained, maybe.
And somehow you're giving me shit for just not praising Diane Dixon to the high heavens.
I wasn't giving you shit for that.
Yeah, the two of you were. It's a fucking gang up and I'm not going to take it. I also had the same question about the perspective and stuff, but I had it in a much more nefarious way because you spend a lot of time in like the kids' cabins and like John is talking over it and it all felt a little...
That's a route you took.
If
it felt that way, it felt that way, yeah.
Yeah, it is a route I took. What's going on? I don't know why I'm under fire here.
I just didn't take the perspective that seriously.
We can't be so pure of heart as you, Shaylin. That's a compliment.
Okay. All right.
So Smokey the Bear. So the fire marshal makes it to the camp and he doesn't really try to help put the fire out. I guess it was already put out, but he's not concerned about it. And he sounds a little weird.
What are you saying? I'm saying, if you don't have a brand spanking new kitchen standing on this spot in exactly 1 week, I'm closing this camp for good.
He kind of sounds like that character from The Simpsons. Remember the butler? And he's like, yeah, I had a stroke.
I'm having a stroke.
Yeah, exactly. So the fire marshal's takeaway is he gives them a week to build a kitchen or the camp will close. Why a week? I don't know, but...
Okay, and another question.
Yeah.
What are they supposed to do for a week without a kitchen?
Right, that's what I'm getting at. It's like, what do they do?
And where do they find a company, a carpenter, or someone to show up and build them an entire building and kitchen in a week?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, especially out in the woods.
My suspension of disbelief was dead by this moment. Mm-hmm. Couldn't do it.
I didn't even think that far.
I was like, even on HGTV, when they do the crazy home makeovers, they have more than a week.
Yeah. Okay. That's a direction you went.
A path I took.
I wrote down here, this is good. This is a good joke. Camp Candy is constantly under fire, as it were. Huh?
Mm-hmm.
It's good. Do you get it? Because this is the plot for every episode, so they're under fire.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So the kids have some terrible fundraising ideas, just like
the worst.
Horrible. Yeah, I pulled them. I wrote them down, but let's listen.
You're right. A runathon. I'll run up and down the mountain for 3 cents a mile.
I've got a better idea. A formal black tie fundraiser at $500 a plate.
I say we have a rock concert. We'll call it KitchenAid.
Bad ideas, all of them.
KitchenAid.
Yeah, not funny.
3 things.
Yes.
I liked KitchenAid. I thought it was funny.
Oh, God.
Do you think they were a sponsor?
No.
Band-Aid or KitchenAid?
KitchenAid. That's an appliance company.
Is a runathon.
It's like where you get paid per mile to just keep going and going and going.
Is a runathon a thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not. So it's different than a marathon?
Yeah, it's like a fundraising thing.
In a marathon, you run 26.2 miles.
Yeah.
In a runathon, people sponsor you X amount of money per mile that you complete.
I mean, 3 cents a mile to run up a mountain is really underselling yourself, which is where that idea falls apart.
And also, who wants to see a kid run up and down a mountain many times? I would not pay for that.
I raised my hand.
Yes, you did.
Fucking pervert.
That's not what I mean. This show gets much more perverse than this.
Definitely true.
Yeah. Did you have any other points with that, Dave? I don't know if that was 3.
The just Vanessa's terrible. Just a terrible character.
Yeah. So she's supposed to be the socialite of the group, but she sounds, as many of these characters do in these shows, like a 40-year-old smoker. She just sounds bad.
Yep.
Yeah, she sounded like Amy from My Pet Monster. Like the exact same voice and like intonation, like in very like hoity-toity. Also, like the character Vanessa really messes with me. So like I'm 9 years old watching this show when it first came out. And no, I'm 5 years old, whatever.
How old are you?
I can do math. I'm 42. So she talks about all these adult things, but in the show, she's how old are they? Like
a
10,
child,
I guess. Yeah, like
indiscriminate.
So how old is she? And like these jokes aren't resonating with a 5-year-old. Like I like this character completely went over my head. Did you get the same take?
I thought that the characters all looked weird. Like the kids all looked like shrunken adults and not like children. So I think that might play into what you're saying, but kids never get good lines in these shows.
I kind of interpreted her as like her parents just sent her away to be rid of her. And I would probably do the same if my kid was like that.
Sure.
Yeah, because she is terrible.
She's terrible.
She sucked.
Yeah. Much like all of them.
Not cool. Alex, who is the tomboy of the group, and she's described that way on the Wikipedia, so that's not a generalization. She suggests a story that she heard from John. So now we have another story from John. So it's like just layers building.
Layers.
It's beautiful. So she suggests that they go up the mountain to Copperhead Cave because there's supposed to be gold there. Now it raises the question, if John owns the camp and this area, why he never looked for the gold? It doesn't seem like he's doing particularly well financially, but that's beside the point. It's a kid show. We won't go nuts with that. So they go to Copperhead Cave. The kids do on their own, no adults. And They get to Copperhead Cave, which looks like mildly alligator-ish. Like it's got a lot more teeth than a snake does. But a copperhead is a snake.
Right.
Bad name.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They could have called it Crocodile Cave.
Or just animated it to look like a snake.
Allicaved her.
Crocodile Cave.
Lizard Ranch.
Cakedile.
It all works.
I got nothing.
Yeah,
Sorry.
That's okay. We can't all come up with bad puns relatively on the spot. So when we leave them, they're a little worried about a cave monster. And they go into the cave. And one of the kids is a fucking idiot.
Yep.
He thinks bats are bow ties.
The bats.
Let's listen to this bow tie line.
Hey, look! Somebody lost a bow tie! Better yet, it's a bat!
These kids just... Oh, God, they all sucked. Horrible.
So how long have they been at this camp? Like, they're outdoors. They should know all this stuff.
Right.
John doesn't know where they are. The kitchen burned down. This is an awful camp.
It's the worst.
This is a place children should not be going to.
Correct.
Instead of a camp, it's actually just a foster home failure situation, and he's trying to convince them they're at summer camp.
It could be. I mean, as we find out in a moment, there's just like derelicts living on the land that he doesn't know about.
Yep.
But the kids are approached by a prospector who is named Hiram, which I guess is a fine prospector name. And he introduces himself.
We thought you were a cave monster.
Yeah, Hiram's the name. Sorry to throw such a scare into you. You kind of forget your company manners after 57 years.
Hiram's story is that he has been alone up in this mountain mining for gold for 57 years. It's such a weird, outlandish number. Like, it's just impossible to accept.
He's been there longer than the camp.
Right.
That's why they don't know about him.
Maybe.
But
there's a big wide path up there, like big enough for the kids to wander around on. So, well, maybe he made the path.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just Hiram. Ooh, troublesome.
Yep.
I was really into the voice though. Like,
oh, there's gold up in their heels.
Yeah. I like the yokel music too.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
And again, the subtle
Pretty
laughter
solid.
that may or may not be real.
Right.
Yeah.
So Hiram, for the first time of many in the episode, is a lunatic, and he leaves the kids in the cave because he doesn't like people. And then the kids find what they think is gold immediately. And they start to have some fantasies about this. And one girl dreams about freeing animals from a zoo. And Vanessa dreams about using a vacuum. And Iggy, the nerdy...
A vacuum to shop.
A vacuum
right,
to
I'm
shop.
sorry,
Like
right.
She's shopping and like...
Yeah.
It's much less
He's
reasonable
like sucking
than
up
a
diamond
vacuum.
necklaces and things.
Yeah, I wonder in that scenario if she used the $1 million to pay for the vacuum, or if she's going to pay for the things in the vacuum with the $1 million. Like maybe it's just a really good vacuum.
I assumed the second one, but I like where you're going with your version.
She's creative. Iggy is worried about his taxes. And then we get Alex's, which is maybe not appropriate, and probably even less so when you listen to it.
Order your video of Alex Pumps Iron for preteens.
Yikes. Jesus Christ.
Do you think they didn't think it through? Or do you think they thought it was funny?
Well, I'll tell you what they weren't expecting. A man to come by 25 years later and pull that clip out of context and play it for the internet. But it does not play well.
What's the last bit of dialogue at the end of that clip?
Hold on.
I can't understand it.
One more time.
Order your video of Alex Pumps Iron for preteens.
For preteens?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't pick that one up. That's that's fucked up.
Yeah. It's not cool. But so Hiram comes back after about 4 seconds because seeing people after 57 years, it makes him happy. But he says something really bizarre here. I kind of want to get your take on it.
That's just about the finest smell in the world. Except maybe for pussy.
You know?
What?
He came back. He started talking about that.
So gross.
Yeah, not cool. Hiram's a creeper.
Yeah, that's real gross.
Yeah.
And I'm real uncomfortable, so thank you.
All right.
Is it from Christine?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's my favorite line from that movie.
Yeah.
Or any movie.
It's everybody. Of course. It's right up there with "Here's looking at you, kid. That ain't no moon."
Ain't nothing.
She says.
Ain't no better smell than fool's gold, except maybe pussy.
That's right.
It's good. It's good.
I don't know why those two characters remind me of each other, but
here we are.
Here we are. The mind builds bridges.
And I think the reason why we're friends and why we're co-hosting Watchbots is because I had the exact same fucking thought.
That's right.
It's the same voice. Yeah.
Yeah. He's just got that feel to him. Maybe it was the same guy. I didn't research that.
It's not.
Yeah. Use your imagination.
It's a shared universe.
Yeah. Absolutely. The Christine Candyverse. The scene ends. Hiram deduces that is not gold. It's in fact fool's gold. He hums the nugget against the wall of the cave where it shatters, which I guess real gold would not do. I'm not a gold expert or an alchemist, if you will.
A mineralogist.
Yes. We'll get to them later. And then we get the weirdest thing in the episode. It's like an intermission of sorts. You know, it's a caterpillar who's hitting on a butterfly, and then he becomes a butterfly.
Yep.
Yeah. It's like a fever dream.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
I don't know what to say.
I normally watch the episodes with you in the living room, but this week, because of scheduling and stuff, I was on the train commuting to work, and this part came up.
Mm-hmm.
And I stopped, and I looked around as though maybe someone on the train could explain to me why everything had just shifted with no cause. I was like, did the Wi-Fi get interrupted? Did I jump videos? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
It's just weird.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't make heads or tails of it. I didn't know if it was like they were gonna like it like leads into a commercial, or maybe it was an advertisement for another show or something like that. But like, nope, it's just kind
of
there.
Yeah.
It's up there on the table.
Yeah.
No relation to the rest of the episode.
Yeah. And here's a quick clip of it, but this doesn't really capture all of it, but just so you get a flavor.
Hey, gorgeous. Where have you been all my life?
Bug off, you worm.
Oh, listen. We were made for each other.
Grow up, will ya?
You mean like this?
It's just like, it's like a different show. I mean, it is a different show, but.
Yeah. And also it comes off as raunchy.
Oh, yeah. Super horny. Yeah.
Accurate.
Yeah. So John is literally pacing a hole in the ground, which if you're counting LOLs, that got one out of me. Cause like he's in the ground up to like his thighs. He's just paced that much. And again,
instead of going to look for the children.
Yeah. Again, why is he in charge of children?
But anything could happen to them out there. Those woods are full of hungry creatures.
He doesn't call the cops. He doesn't go with Nurse Molly to look for the kids. He's just pacing and waiting. But fortunately,
he's very good at fretting.
Yeah. And whining, as we'll get to. Fortunately, the kids and Hiram show back up, and John is not really taken aback that the kids are with a mountain drifter, but he is a little bit taken aback when a lawnmower shows up.
Yeah.
And good God, let's play the clip and talk about this.
Oh, yeah, it's a horrible grass-eating monster. You know where it hits? I'll see ya.
I'll set the scene.
Would you please?
So the kids, Hiram, John, and Nurse Molly are out in front of the cabin. And then a lawnmower rounds the corner. So I guess Camp Candy has a third employee. And Hiram flips his fucking lid. He runs toward the lawnmower like a madman, jumps onto the hood. The lawnmower driver is thrown in the air and then lands on John. So Hiram, confirmed, just a complete lunatic.
You said you LOL'd at when he was like walking, so worried he walked a trench into the ground.
Mm-hmm.
I LOL'd at this. I thought it was hilarious. Just this old crazy person attacking a lawnmower, not knowing what it was. It was fantastic. I loved it. But yeah, he should
not be around kids. Yeah, they're not
exactly.
safe.
Why are these kids around him?
It's like that time that I went on the field trip to Boston, and instead of showing us anything, the chaperones hung out while we went and found homeless people to play with.
What?
I'm joking.
What? Oh.
I would have bought that story hook, line, and sinker had you continued with it.
Yeah, I would have too.
Yeah. We get a sad version of the Camp Candy song, and John just kind of whines about it being very sad. And like, I just wrote down, Jesus, John, just get over it. Like, he has no agency. Like, he's an adult and he runs a business, but he just has no particular interest in actually fixing anything. He's a real sad sack, that John, which is a bummer.
Yes.
And I had that thought again of like who John is. So this is where the IMDb listing becomes tricky, right? Because he's listed as playing himself, which means that he is John Candy. And he has money because he's a successful actor, but he can't pay for the kitchen, Like it doesn't work.
Well, unless this took place in the before time, and he became an actor after being springboarded by the camp.
Maybe. I mean,
the kids grew up and became Lorne Michaels.
I guess if I looked at his earlier films, could I place where in the John Candy timeline this might be?
Yeah, that's good. Good thing to think about.
Yeah.
Good thing to use your brain space for.
Yeah. Well, listeners, if you think you know where John Candy is in his timeline, you can hit us up with hashtag #TheCandymanCan. And if you don't know, hashtag #TheCandymanCan't. Okay. So we got to the next day, and Hiram is making food. So I guess this kind of answers your question, Shaylin, about what they would do, because he has like a stone kitchen set up, like an outdoor kitchen. But Hiram's true skill, he's an amazing, some would say impossibly amazing cook.
Anything from a leg of lamb to a roast turkey to barbecue spare ribs to egg foo young to a family-sized pizza complete with anchovies.
Yeah.
All coming out of the same pot.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like, he has one big pot that he's serving all these dishes out of.
Big
pot. That's right.
One big pot.
So Hiram is having a hell of a day. He gets a makeover from Vanessa. Iggy teaches him how to brush his teeth. And yeah, it's very heartwarming. Is that fair to say?
John teaches him how to love again.
Oh, yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good. And John, he has some interesting character flaws. As an example, after this day, which I've described to you, where Hiram performs manual labor for the campers and then gets his hair dried and his teeth brushed.
Which he's alarmed by.
Yeah. John makes an interesting proclamation here.
It was probably the happiest day of Hiram's entire life.
That seems like a leap.
Well, the happiest day in the last 57 years.
How do you know? Maybe he's having a good time up there by himself.
Yeah.
Because he says that if he had known people were nice, he would have. That's later. I don't want to spoil it.
Yeah, I don't know. John thinks pretty highly of himself and his abilities to
do
make
nothing.
People happy. Yeah. I just thought it was interesting.
John also likes to speak in hyperbole a lot.
Yeah.
That's true.
He says the happiest and the saddest like 18 times.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's so much so like I felt like it wasn't a joke rather than like they wrote 90% of the episode and then they were like, "Oh my god, like you've all these superlatives. Here, we'll just put in a little like one of the kids in the framing device will like mention like, man, I think you already said that or something, or you're getting redundant or whatever."
They call him redundant.
Yeah.
It's interesting you mentioned that, Dave, because I hope this is the clip I'm thinking it is, but the show becomes self-aware around this point.
That night was one of the saddest moments I can ever remember.
Talk about Mr. Redundant.
It's that was another LOL moment. It's like the show knows somehow about what it is. So we get an interesting shot. I pulled a GIF of this. There's not a clip per se, but we're in the little girl's bunk and we're panning across and the camera stops, right? So at the right side, there's a bunk and then there's nobody in the shot. And then all of a sudden, Vanessa flickers in like a ghost.
She's digitally added.
Yeah.
Remastered.
It's almost like the whole budget went to getting John Candy on the show and the rest, yeah, we'll get there. We do get one more line from that night which is it's gross, which is why I'm going to play it for you, mostly for Shaylin's reaction.
I tell you, there wasn't a dry bunk in the whole place. Suddenly it was morning.
Ugh.
It's something you can relate to, huh, Ben?
Yeah,
Complete with slide whistle.
Yeah.
So
you could take that line to mean a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Yep.
Urine, wet dreams, each better than the last.
It's a thing.
Summer love.
It happened so fast.
Is a beautiful thing. The kids wake up the next day, the day of reckoning for Camp Candy, and they find a note from Hiram, which they read. And we also get the most blatantly sloppy piece of animation or sound editing that we see the whole episode. So let me play this one out.
This United is in payment for showing me that people are nothing to be afraid of. Thanks to you, I'm now ready to rejoin the human race. Signed,
Now you can rebuild the kitchen.
It's like, I don't know. It's like they animated the show and they couldn't go back and re-edit the sound. Like they couldn't do it without making that stuff overlap.
Yeah, it was really bad and jarring.
Yeah, it really, I mean, there's no sense of immersion to this, but yeah, it's super jarring.
There was a bad bit of animation when they're going over how they're all going to be millionaires and someone's on a pile of money.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just kind of floating and there's random dollar bills around them. And I'm like, what is going on? What is this fantasy of theirs? But then it just it flickers in like Vanessa did. The rest of the money flickers in and it's oh, he's on a pile of money. I see. It's really jarring.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Hiram has left the kids a real gold nugget and John doesn't believe it. But unfortunately for him, the back of the note contains a real legit certificate.
It's a certificate from the assay office. It reads, "This nugget is 99% pure gold. Signed the Bureau of Mineralogy."
When did Hiram have time to do that?
It's a good question.
It would have had to have been between the hours of 7 p.m. and 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. or whenever this was taking place.
Maybe it already had done it. But
he hasn't had human contact in 57 years.
Do you think that the Bureau of Mineral whatever's was in existence 58 years ago?
Maybe. I guess that's as plausible as anything else. Rex shows up and he's got his cement mixer and he's pissed. The fire marshal then turns the tables on Rex and says, there's fire violations at your house, asshole.
I'm going to pause here for 1 second and go back. Under-recognized moment in this episode was when the bad guy, used a toy cement mixer on a model to show what it would look like if he poured cement all over the camp. And his lackey says, "This seems like a waste of a tabletop display." That was my only laugh this episode.
I'm glad we went back for it. No laughs left behind.
I went back to get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There were 5 LOLs in this episode.
We should start tracking those. No, that would be tedious.
It would be tedious.
Yeah. So the point is, Rex runs into the cement mixer where he's spun around and is almost certainly killed.
Oh yeah, no, that guy doesn't survive that in real life.
So John puts a moral and a bow on the story, which I appreciate, both for the sentiment and for the humor of it. Let's play that out.
Alex, what makes this really valuable is that it was given in the spirit of love, and that makes it 100% pure.
So if we do the math, the gold was certified as 99% pure. So the spirit of love added 1% of purity, which if you look at it like a cynical bastard, like I'm choosing to, doesn't quite match that nice music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gross.
So Hiram is watching from the bushes again, like a lunatic creeper. And that's the end of Camp Candy. On to the next adventure for this crew. So let's rate this, and let's switch it up this week and start with 1 to 5 Uncle Buck pancakes. And Shaylin,
ooh,
I will start with you.
I rate this 1 Uncle Buck pancake.
What?
Because I'm acknowledging that those pancakes are damn big.
Okay.
So it's fun. But my God, I had a lot of questions.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's a big pancake.
It is. Big as a snow shovel. Dave?
I'm feeling hungry. I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 Uncle Buck pancakes. I thought it was clever. Despite our reading of it, I thought it was very innocent. And it was chock full of dad jokes. So I enjoyed it.
Hell.
And I love John Candy. He can do no wrong.
Hell yeah.
How about you, Ben?
I'm going to go with 3. It's a nice short stack, even when factoring in the size of the pancakes. It's fine. I thought it was a fun enough watch. Inoffensive. Well, actually, now that
pretty offensive.
Yeah, think about it, maybe it wasn't inoffensive, but yeah, it was fun. I enjoyed it well enough. And then just real quick, yes or no, show it to a kid?
At this age, I would, yes. But at age 13, I would be concerned about appropriateness.
Okay. Dave?
I'm going to give you a more simple answer. I'm going to say yes, I would show it to a child. I would also show them all John Candy movies that they are old enough to watch. Maybe a Home Alone.
Sure.
Or what are some other ones? Is Uncle Buck? No, Uncle Buck's pretty.
A little racy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got some content.
I'd have to watch those, but definitely Home Alone.
So I appreciate your sentiment. I will question how that was a simpler answer than what Shaylin gave it anyway. For me, I will say yes. Now, on to this week's game, and this one's from me. And I'm a sucker for movie tie-ins. So toys and, marketing campaigns, but most of all, restaurant tie-ins, So whenever the big summer blockbuster comes out, you go to your local McDonald's, you see like Thanos's Avenger Burger. And like, I live for that shit. It's pathetic. It's true. So with that spirit in mind, I'd like to present you this. You've heard of Hawaiian Punch. Well, this is the tie-in lunch.
All right.
I have an alternate. Do you want the alternate? Yes. You've heard of the Lion King. This is the tie-in thing.
I like that one better.
I have another alternate. Do you want the other alternate?
Yes.
You've heard of the crying game. This is the tie-in game.
I thought that was funny.
So what's the verdict?
I still think Lion King, but I liked the singing for the tie-in game.
So we're between the tie-in thing or the tie-in game. I'll figure it out later. So the game is this. I am going to give you the name of a movie. You will tell me if it had a tie-in menu item. You can get bonus points if you can guess the restaurant, right? And I will give you sort of the vague item, and you will kind of guess the name, right? So if I were to say, Shaylin, The Hobbit.
Yes.
And then for bonus points, do you know where it was?
Burger King.
No. And it was a breakfast. So what was the name of the Hobbit-themed breakfast?
Hobbiton.
The Hobbit Hole.
Okay.
You can get a maximum of 3 points per question.
Okay.
All right. So Dave, we're going to start with you. And the movie is Men in Black 3.
Oh.
Did it have a restaurant tie-in?
Did it? Or, I think.
Yes or no?
Yes, it did.
Okay. That's correct. And so you said Burger King?
Burger King, yep.
That is incorrect. It was from Baskin Robbins. So it's an ice cream item.
Okay.
What would what would the ice cream item be called?
I don't know. Agent K.
No, it is Lunar Cheesecake. So you got 1 point out of 3 for that.
Okay.
All right. Shaylin.
Yeah.
Superman the movie, yes or no?
Absolutely.
What restaurant?
McDonald's.
Taco Bell. And the item is a taco.
Is it the super taco?
No, it's just a taco.
It's just a taco.
Yeah. So you get 1 point out of that.
Yeah.
Dave, Terminator 2.
Ooh. Did not have a tie-in.
No, it did.
Shit.
Where was it?
Oh man. Terminator 2. Sonic?
That's actually not too far off. It's at Subway. So you got
Okay.
And it was a drink, not a sandwich. A Terminator themed drink.
T1000 soda.
That's not too terribly off. I'm going to give you a half point. It was the Thirst Terminator.
Okay. Okay.
Thirst Terminator.
Yeah.
So what did I get there? A half point out of 3?
Yeah. All right. Let's do a couple more of these. Shaylin, your second one, Casino Royale.
Yes.
Correct. This is a little bit of a change up, but where was it?
Pizza Hut.
No, it was actually Del Monte, the frozen treats company.
Oh, I never would have gotten that.
So it's a popsicle. Think of a James Bond themed popsicle.
Are you serious?
Yeah. What's the name? When I tell you the name, you're gonna slap your forehead and go nuts.
Cold Finger.
It's not bad. License to Chill. License to Chill. There was also apparently a Taco Bell promotion for like one of the post-Connery ones where they sold James Bond themed ties.
Huh.
Which is sort of interesting.
At a Taco Bell?
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Because when I go to Taco Bell, what I'm thinking is, I need a fancy men's dress tie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Weird stuff.
Yeah.
All right. And then we'll do one more round each. Dave, you get The Phantom Menace, Star Wars Episode 1.
Oh, man. Yes.
That's correct.
Did have a tie-in.
I will narrow down the restaurant somewhat. Large burger chains.
Okay. Large burger chains.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go back to my first guess. Burger King.
That is correct. And it is a Empire themed burger.
The Emperor.
Not bad. It's the Dark Vader. Yeah. The
Dark Vader. Okay.
Not Darth Vader. It had like dark pepper ketchup or something.
Was it like a black patty? Like they colored it?
Yeah. At one point they had the black bun too, but I can't remember if this was that or not.
That wasn't for Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
Because we lived in this house when that happened.
Okay. That's real. The listener will appreciate that info. All right. Chillin'. Last round.
I'm ready.
Batman Forever.
Yes.
Large burger chain.
McDonald's.
Correct. A burger.
The McAlfred.
I wish. What if it was the McGregor syndrome? That would have been
syndrome.
That would have been the next movie. It's actually the superhero burger. So clever name.
Oh, that's it?
McDonald's.
I thought they would have gone with like a Two-Face, like made it like half and half or something.
Nope. Nothing so clever as that. So that was the tie-in game, and Shaylin won by a score of 4 to 3.5.
Yeah, kicking some butt.
But let's move on to the mailbag. Hi, Watchbots. Great episode on My Little Pony. I love the way you all take things so pristine and innocent and turn them into the filthiest content imaginable. Especially Shaylin. What a potty mouth. Anyway, My Little Pony was a hugely successful toy line back in the 80s, up there with G.I. Joe, Transformers, and others. What was your favorite toy line when you were growing up? Keep up the great work, Rex Stinkum. Well, Rex, you've really hit our wheelhouse here with toy lines, and I'll throw it out to the group. What were some of your favorites?
So I can rank them definitively in order. Lego was my top favorite. And then Barbie.
Oh, that's a good one.
And then ponies. And I also had, it was not like super popular for our generation necessarily, but the Madame Alexander Ginny dolls.
Okay.
But.
What?
Yeah, most kids in our generation didn't have those. It was like a carryover from my mom and my grandmother.
I was going to say from like 1930.
Legit, like maybe 40. But.
Okay.
My favorite toy line was the original Potato Head, when you just screwed things into a real potato.
Listen, man. I started with Lego.
Those were the days.
Yeah.
Well, that's how we entertained ourselves in the Great Depression.
It was that and a Jacob's Ladder.
I hate you both.
I'm sorry. Dave, any thoughts?
Well, I was big into Ninja Turtles, but I think we've gone down that road on this show. Mm-hmm. But I think my other one was loved the giraffe toy line. Like the dinosaurs had like this like weird like fleshy skin that gave them like this realistic feel. But they also had dino damage, so like there were like
damage.
chunks of them.
Yeah.
It was awesome. Like chunks would come out of the T-Rex, and you could see the bones and the muscle. But the people also had dino damage. The Dennis Nedry character, his arms, like, you press the button and they just like popped off. And
really,
there was like bloody shoulder stumps. Yeah, it was really cool.
Huh.
But they had the compound and electric fences and stuff. It was that line was great. I got a lot of use out of that.
Yeah, that was good.
How about
stuff.
you, Ben?
Yeah. So, I mean, we talked about a bunch on this show, but I'll spotlight a couple of sort of lesser known ones that I enjoyed. Well, I'll spotlight 3. One was Dino Riders. And I think,
oh yeah,
we should talk about Dino Riders on this show sometime.
Mm-hmm.
But like, they were dinosaurs that had robotics attached to them. So, you know, similar to the Jurassic Park toys, they just had like cyborg parts. They were cool as shit. So that was one. Another one was Computer Warriors. Do either of you know that one?
Nope.
So
No.
This is like a 1988 thought about computing. So like, there were literal people. I want to say that they were like microbits or something. That was their race, but they lived inside things. So there was a Pepsi can set, and you would open up the Pepsi can, and it was like a Mighty Max playset kind of.
That's kind of cool.
So they had like a soccer ball. I think they had a computer one that was the big like Hall of Justice kind of thing. So that was kind of cool. And the last one was Food Fighters. You know Food Fighters?
Yeah, I remember that.
I've heard of them through you.
So Food Fighters, man, I don't even think that there was a cartoon. I think this was just a toy line, but there was like the general for the good guys was a burger, and his name was General Burger Deer. And that's kind of the humor you got. There was a hot dog and a donut and a taco, and they were great. My cousin was one of the Food Fighters for Halloween one year. Shout out to that. But they had an egg carton tank and stuff. It was just, you know, it was pun humor. So it hits me right in the sweet spot, but just well-designed toys, just good stuff.
Yeah, I remember that a lot. Do you remember Exo Squad?
Yes. Exo Squad was awesome.
Those toys were awesome. Like, they had little, like G.I. Joe sized figures in these like giant, like mech suits. Oh, that was cool. That's another line I loved. I'm pretty sure there was a cartoon about that too. So
there was some of those lines, like Exo Squad. I bought a couple of the toys and never watched the cartoon, just never had interest in it, you know, but just having like the dudes and the suits and stuff. That was cool shit.
Mm.
Yeah.
Toys are cool.
I agree.
Gotta love the toys. So thanks, Rex.
Thanks, Rex Stinkum.
Indeed. That was not a stinkum question. Huh? Huh? A little punchy. So if you want to join in on the fun, you can email us at email@watchbotspod.com, and we'll ramble on. Maybe about your question, maybe not, but we'll get your name on the air. That's the important thing. So I think that brings us to the end of our discussion on Camp Candy. Any last gold nuggets or Smoky Bears or anything we need to talk through?
I got nothing.
All right.
Well, just one last question. What was your favorite John Candy movie?
Uncle Buck, I think.
Okay. Shaylin?
So I really love Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, but it's also one of the saddest movies I've ever watched, so I always say Uncle Buck. What about you?
Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Yeah, that's a good choice, too.
It's a solid one. And it has my favorite line. I like me. My wife likes me. I say that a lot to my wife. And she loves it. She loves it when I repeat it ad nauseum outside of the holiday season when we watch that movie.
Sure.
Every year. But yeah.
I say that line too, and then I just get called a liar. So I don't know. It doesn't really work. All right. So you can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Jiffy at WatchBotsPod. Please subscribe, rate, review on iTunes, Spotify, or your podcasting platform of choice. For Dave and Shaylin, this has been. Thanks for listening to another episode of WatchBots. Until next week, speak softly, carry a big stick, enjoy the beauty of nature, and get yourself some dang insurance on your camp. Be responsible, you fuck. Bye.